Humility goes a long way. I think it's got two sides to it as far as the number 6 here. It's you personally. You know, I think someone said before, you know, all the people bragging on Facebook about how rich they are, and, you know, it's funny, you know, Grant Cardone has like this most amazing following, and it's always, you know, from his private jet, but it's congruent. It's congruent with who he is, right? And I'm always okay with that. Frank Kern, you know, I want to send you more money, dude, or something like that. It's congruent with who he is, and I'm really cool with that. And there's something humble about that in a way. I mean, I don't know if Grant I would call humble, but you know, but it's got to be in there somewhere about you personally. And then also how you talk to your customers. You know, if your customers may expect you to be bragging about your stuff, right? They might be and if they do, good, be congruent with that. But if not, you know, it served me much better to let my stories do the talking. So I've thrown in a couple of humble brags here today. Yeah, I ran a $150 million business. Yeah, I had a million subscribers to Bottom Line Personal. I didn't do that by myself. So here's where the humility comes in. And it's real. I didn't do any of that stuff myself. I've been a lifelong student of this craft. And I will be a lifelong student until I die. That's why I come here. That's why I'm here speaking to you today. I'm not here as a teacher. I'm here as a student as much as a teacher. I think you learn so much more by teaching. And so that's my goal for my next 35 years, is to keep teaching so I keep learning.
Just a little bit of historical perspective on Bottom Line Personal, that you lost money in the first year on a $39 subscription. You were putting those in where your target market was too, though. I mean, you were giving free subscriptions to the Admiral Club and the United Clubs and those.
That wasn't a big thing. It was actually the 6 free issues, though. So the free was a big part. That was the big thing. That was a big breakthrough.
I remember being in those clubs.
Yeah.
There it is. I'm grabbing it.
Yeah, that was sort of an anyhow piece. But a lot of people remember us from that, which is kind of interesting. So you make a lot of impact with very little distribution if you're in the right places, because that's you're absolutely right. You identified why we were there, because it was where our audience lived and breathed. But we couldn't scale that piece. We scaled it because we did, you know, 100 million pieces of direct mail a year.
Oh, yeah.
Humble brag. David Ogilvy said, if you ever find a man who is better than you are, hire him. If necessary, pay him more than you pay yourself. And this is my philosophy on copywriters and marketers. You know, I mean, Jay and I just had a conversation about this 2 days ago. That we were appalled about a situation where someone wrote some copy and it led to $4 million of business, and they wouldn't give the copywriter a raise. You know, if you go to my blog page, you will see time and time again this whole idea of paying to play. And you're not going to get world-class copywriters if you're not willing to pay for them. And you got to make them a partner. You can't just talk the talk of, oh, my vendors are my partners. I mean, more people say that, and they're so full of shit. Because once the vendor, the copywriter, whoever, starts making more money than them, I don't need you anymore. Which is ridiculous. I mean, the story I like to tell on that is Gary Bencivenga. I remember, you know, I don't know if the exact number, but I think it was over $1 million. We were sending I think it was $1,100,000 check just in royalties based on a package Gary wrote for us that we mailed in the tens of millions. And I remember the CFO of my business coming into the office and looking at me and Marty and saying, it's crazy. You know, he's making more money than anybody in the company. And Marty just looked at him and said, if he's making that much, do you know how much we made on his package? And to have that abundant mentality, and I'm not saying, I'm giving you huge numbers for effect, and those are close to real. I mean, we had a lot of times our copywriters were the highest paid employees of our company, and they were not employees. And by the way, we weren't Gary's only client. So to not have an abundant mentality and be jealous that your outside person is making more money. I think a couple of weeks ago, I just wrote a blog post and told a story of a woman who had this incredible windfall. I'm not going to get into all the details, but basically it was a big corporation, and she made more money as a salesperson than the CEO of the company. And then she refused to take a pay cut not seeing it as a windfall, and there was no employment contract. And so the opposite is true. Like, she was just like, there was no humility there at all. And if she took a 50% pay cut, she still would have made more money that next year at 50% pay cut that she ever made for the rest of her career. And instead they fired her after the second year when she was making more money than the CEO. The most frequent reason for unsuccessful advertising is advertisers who are so full of their own accomplishments, the world's best seed, that they forget to tell us why we should buy the world's best lawn. So again, this is the humility factor that will show up in your copy. I love my product so much you have to have it, as opposed to I'm going to create transformation for you in your life, which is what Jeff Walker teaches in Product Launch Formula. So again, don't let your lack of humility creep into your copy and your philosophy and all of that.